Hey guys, Donald Kaczynski, Ryuzaki MK7, Ryu, however you guys know me as. I'm here with a quick editor's note for this episode of the General Geekery podcast, as well as the next episode, episode 24. Myself and Hannah had to record these episodes over not a Skype call, a Discord call, and I had to use a different recording software than I normally use to record the episodes of the podcast. As a result of that, the audio that came out for the recording is a lot lower than I normally like to work with. I try to edit it the best I can in post, but unfortunately I can only get it up so high without potentially harming someone's ears. So you may want to increase your volume however you normally listen to the podcast, but please make sure to listen carefully and just please be careful of your hearing when listening to this episode of the podcast. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Also, there may be some points of the podcast where the audio may cut out for Hannah a little bit. Unfortunately, that was due to Discord, so I couldn't really do anything about that, unfortunately. But other than that, the episode is pretty much all good, ready to go. So, without further ado, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Please enjoy the newest episode of the General Geekery podcast. I'm gonna need a lot more caffeine. I'm gonna be honest.
Yep. Yep. After this one, we'll have to take a break and make coffee separately.
I've got an entire pot of coffee waiting downstairs. I'm ready.
Nice.
I'm ready for the long haul. But all right.
I'm good to go.
You're good to go. All right.
Yep,
Okay.
got my Yeti out. So
excellent. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the General Geekery podcast, the podcast where we like to geek out about all the things we like to geek out about. As always, this is Donald Kaczynski, and, well, we have to do things a little bit different with the COVID-19. We are all in self-quarantine, but that's not going to stop the show. With me, as always, is the awesome Hannah Kubiak. Hey, Hannah.
hello.
All right. Through the magic of Discord.
It's like we're talking on the phone. Yeah.
Through the magic of Discord. And once again, this episode of the General Geekery podcast is a part of Anime April, where each episode we release we talk about a different anime. Me and Hannah each chose a couple of ones that we want to talk about. Last episode, we were talking with our good friends Thomas and Maggie about Fullmetal Alchemist, which I love that discussion a lot. I had a lot of fun re-going through that episode.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I love that show. You can listen to the episode.
Yeah,
you know how much I love that.
yeah. Like, oh my god, we all love it. We all love it. We were nerding out so hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
my gosh, yes.
And so for this episode, it was an anime that I personally recommended Hannah. It's a anime that was released in 2017. It's a 13-episode anime by the name of Death Parade.
Yeah.
And it might just be one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh my gosh.
It
surprised me, definitely. I didn't expect to react to it the way that I did, definitely.
Oh, I can't wait to hear how you reacted to it. But before we get into that, I'll do a little bit of a insight for those of you that have not seen Death Parade. So, Death Parade was produced by Studio Madhouse. And for those that are familiar with the anime industry, Studio Madhouse has released a lot of different anime projects that a lot of people really like. I mean, they're in charge of doing anime projects such as No Game No Life, Black Lagoon, among others. So, for this particular project, Death Parade originally started out as an entry into a anime contest by the name of Death Billiards. It was a separate... It's like a precursor to Death Parade. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't think Death Billiards is on the Death Parade collection that was produced by Funimation, unfortunately.
Mm.
But it's definitely worth checking out if you guys have the chance to go check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Death Billiards short got a lot of attention from a lot of people, and ultimately a 13-episode series was produced, which came in the form of Death Parade.
Yep.
I originally saw this show when it first aired, back in, I want to say, 2015, 2016, I want to say. So back during, like, it was originally being released in Japan on regular syndication. It was being co-licensed, I believe, through Crunchyroll at the time. And then eventually, Funimation picked up the rights for dubbing and home video release.
Yeah.
I mean, home DVD, Blu-ray release, because, I mean, who uses video anymore?
Yeah.
Bad jokes.
I actually just well, the DVD that you gave me was a Blu-ray, and I don't have Blu-ray, so I actually found this show on Hulu, and they didn't have the dub. They just had the original with the Jap. So
yeah, I kind of figure, because some of Funimation's shows, when they're given to Hulu, some of them aren't completely in dub. I mean, a couple of the popular ones are like their dub of One Piece and Attack on Titan and everything like that, but generally, like, they keep some of their dubs behind their own streaming service.
Yeah, actually, I just recently watched the last season of or the third season of Attack on Titan, and the last couple episodes were just where there was.
Interesting. I think for that one it's either because they're either still being shown on Toonami right now in the form of the dub. But I don't have But I don't watch Toonami anymore, because I primarily don't have cable, so
Yeah. So,
yeah,
no, I don't have cable either.
So, yeah,
I don't think I've ever.
You never had cable?
Not even as a kid.
Wow.
We had it for like a month, and then my mom was like, "You guys watch TV way too much," and she stopped it.
How dare? How dare?
Oh no, it was fun. I have lots of memories of playing outside.
Well, at least you got to play outside and use your imagination, so that is the important part.
Yes, imagination.
Imagination station.
I feel like when I was a kid, my imagination probably should have been deadened a little bit. It was so vivid, but, you know. It's like, okay, we got to suppress this imagination.
The imagination cannot be suppressed. It can only be quelled for an instant before it sparks up again. It shall never die.
I'm getting used to this way of recording, because usually we're like talking face to face, and we can like feed off each other's energy and stuff, but you're just this disembodied voice. It's
hello, I'm the voice in your head. I'm the little voice inside of your head. I'm the little voice inside of your head. That's
how the voice inside my head usually sounds, actually. It's like, you better stop. People are looking at you. You better stop.
Oh my goodness.
So, okay, so you said this is one of your favorite animes, and like, did you say that you picked it for Anime April? So
yeah. So, like, it was. It's one of my most recent favorite anime from like the last decade, and I have a couple of good picks like from the past decade. Death Parade for me. Well, I love the concept behind it. Like, it's a very stylistic, artistic choice for me, more than so like a narrative story. Because I mean, for Death Parade, spoiler alert for those of you that have not seen the show yet, I wholly recommend you guys go watch the show. Basically, Death Parade does not really follow like an entire single narrative. Well, there is like a small plot thread with like a character arc, but that's not the main focus of the show. Because basically the general synopsis of the show takes place in the afterlife, like we're assuming it's like a form of limbo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it takes place in a classy bar, like a classy style Gothic bar known as the Quindecim, which I really want to know how to make that drink that Decim made for.
Oh yeah.
I want that drink. But
yeah.
Basically, two people who are recently deceased arrive at the Quindecim and play a game and are judged to whether their soul is reincarnated or whether their soul falls into the void and is not reincarnated and is basically left to...
Right, yeah, there's void and reincarnation.
Yeah. Void, reincarnation, heaven, hell. It's very vague on, like, what exactly, like, both things entail. But...
Yeah.
But just based on, like, the descriptions that the characters that are part of this limbo system that work it, like the responses they give, it's almost kind of chilling. Like, even though they don't specifically know like what someone's going to go through, it's just the thought of like what a person goes through like when their judgment is chosen is interesting.
Yeah. One of the things that I found really interesting about this show was that all these things that they made them do, it was just a game that they were playing. Like they were playing like darts or bowling or cards or something, but their life hung in the balance. And there was also just a really sort of creepy, visceral twist to the game that made it so serious, you know, and just people throwing darts at a dartboard, but every time they throw a dart, there's some sort of like dramatic thing that happens because they start to remember their life as they're playing. Because when they come in, they have no memories of who they are really, or that they're dead, you know, because their system doesn't accept the fact that they're dead. So yeah, we got to see all of these different scenarios in which people sort of learned their own story as we were learning it as well.
Right.
So I found that really cool. Like some of them knew each other, some of them were really close, some of them were strangers or had met in childhood or something like that. And I'm trying to remember, I think they were all connected to each other in some way.
From what I remember, how they described like the arrival process of the Quindecim is two people that had died around the same time, which makes sense to the first couple that we the first two people that arrive at the Quindecim that we see in the series, which was basically a husband and wife that died together in a car accident.
That's right. Yeah.
So that makes sense. So sometimes people are connected through familiar ties and things like that. Some are connected through similar circumstances and means, kind of like the news anchor woman and the kid who were playing the video game. Almost like they had like similar situations with their own lives.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they were the ones that I thought I liked their story, and I didn't really understand why they were together, why they were both playing the game with each other.
Right.
Because up until that point, it had been people who knew each other or people who were connected to like the same murder or something. They just had it was something to do with the theme of motherhood. Like she was a mother, and he
he was feeling distant.
He had this with his stepmother. Yeah,
and he didn't even realize like how much he cared until the Quindecim, and he actually realized.
Yeah.
Actually,
that episode, I didn't expect it to affect me like it did, but that was the one where I started to be like, oh my gosh, this is hard to watch.
Yeah, this show can get pretty intense sometimes. I know we use like anime like this is probably one of my favorite examples of anime as basically it's one of those shows that like explores like different like psychological routes that some other forms of media like normally don't explore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we've had some dark, gritty like anime shows in the past.
Right.
Because I mean, like, you can explore like dark and gritty and everything like that, but I mean, to explore like human emotion in this way, in this kind of environment,
yeah,
it's really hard. I can't really compare this to any other show that I've seen.
It's very, it's very visceral.
Yes,
that's the word I keep on using. It's very much just like, and the voice actors, like, you often have these characters who they've been playing this game and they've been remembering their whole life and realizing like what they did wrong or what they took for granted or something, and so many of them just ended up sobbing, you know.
Yeah, it was
like the two who were playing the video game or whatever. They how do you pronounce his name?
The bartender,
Decim. Yeah, I think because I watched the Japanese without the dubs. Like,
yeah, it is still Decim even in English. I can confirm this.
Decim. So yeah, and but those two who were playing the video game, that was interesting because he still kind of had his like arbiter, emotionless mask kind of thing, but that was the one where he held both of them when they were done, and they just like cried into his chest.
Yeah,
and he said something like, "You've done very well."
like he was the comforting big brother in that moment, and I'm just I'm just like I can't take this. I'm gonna lose it.
Which, yeah, that one really touched me because you really that's something you want to hear at the end of your, so like, you actually did a good job. It kind of looked like you did well considering.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's what I got out of that moment too.
Mm-hmm.
And this show hits hard.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like, this was the show that like forced me to like not binge watch anime for me because of how hard like the episodes can take the toll on yourself at times. Because like at the end of each episode, you just feel like I need a drink, I need a shower, I need something, I need to like decompress what I just saw.
I did binge watch it. Oh,
binge watching the show the first time, it can exhaust you. I did the same. I did the same thing with like the last 6 episodes of the show, and I was like,
it was rough.
Yeah, I was like, I should not have done this.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm pretty sure that I watched the entire, and then I went to sleep.
Now, you either had nightmares the entire night, or you slept soundly as a baby and felt a little better the next morning, even though you know the scars are still there.
Well, I slept really well. I found this to be more like I think I have that sort of contemplative, introspective nature where I think about the fact that I'm going to die pretty much every day. And it's not a bad thing. It's just like, well, that's going to happen. It also doesn't help that I work at a funeral home, so.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yep. Yeah. But I do think about quite a lot, you know, and there was just this show did what art is supposed to do for all of us, which is to tell you, you're not alone in the way that you think and the way that you feel.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And honestly, like, now that you bring that up, like, it reminded me of the episode we were talking about of, like, why theater is important, and, like, all of the points we brought up in that episode can kind of be translated into this show.
Yeah.
For me personally, because like it's minimalistic in terms of like the characters it uses, but at the same time it's like this weird, crazy, grand spectacle.
Yeah. Absolutely. Every character is pretty well developed as well, I feel like. Yeah, for the most part.
Especially for the short amount of time that we get from like each guest that like comes into the bar and like the judgment. Like that's pretty stellar. Like you don't have to do much, but they clearly define the characters. They throw in the dilemma, and it all pans out in the end. Even after like the nature of the bar is revealed in like the first 2 episodes, like it basically just becomes like a guessing game of like how the scenario is gonna go.
Yeah, like you kind of wonder, how did this person die, and how, like, are they going to make it? Are they going to win the game? You know,
exactly. Like, and in your mind, you're becoming, like, you're trying to think about the judgment in a way, like like after like those first 2 episodes, like it almost gets to a point where we come attuned to the point where like we're judging these people like through the eyes of an arbiter in a way, kind of like we're judging them how Geekery is supposed to as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to me that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I can't really call like another anime series that made me like view like the world inside the show through a kind of a neutral character's eyes, because like because Geekery is very neutral. He has to be. He's the arbiter. Yeah.
True neutral, man.
Indeed. So it's like even though we watching in our seats, like we want to like comfort these people and everything like that, and call BS out when something happens. We since we're viewing it through the eyes of Geekery, he can't do that. He has to be neutral.
No.
It's his job in order to instigate the feelings and reveal the truth behind the mask of the individuals.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Let me see. This show really surprised me. And I found the character of Geekery really, really fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
Because he seemed like, well, he had to be neutral, but he was. He was part of an experiment, right? Like they designed him. Yeah, they designed him with emotions.
Yeah, with the ability to learn emotions, even though it's not presently shown. Like you can see the emotions start to develop inside him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think just anybody can relate to that, really, who has sort of you try and be in control and be impartial when you're making decisions and decide what's best and what's right, but no matter how hard you try, your emotions influence what you're going to do.
Right. Which ultimately, which culminates in like the main character arc of the show, like wrapping up in like the last episode. Like, oof.
Yeah. Yeah, that was painful.
That
Definitely.
That hurt. Like that hurt greatly.
Yes. So yeah, just there was that line that she said where she saw how sad her mom was that she had taken her own life and everything, and she just like, I think she was standing there in the memory of her home or whatever, and her mom couldn't see her, but she was just watching her mom cry, and she's there. She's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't cherish my life."
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
that
like
was...
we don't really realize how important our life is until it's too late, really. You know, um, that was
Yeah, that was
that
rough.
was hard. And then like Decim kind of being overcome by that, and sort of seeing a seeing a moment of a moment of humanity as it is. Like she said something about, like, he offered her that she could come back to life, but
Yeah.
somebody else who was alive had to take her place. And she got really close to deciding to do it because she saw how sad her mom was, and that she could change that. But then she sort of remembered all the other people had been through Quindecim when she was there, and that they all had people who loved them and cherished them as well, who would be just as heartbroken if their loved one disappeared. So she kind of made that sort of selfless choice.
Yeah.
To not take that opportunity, to not to sort of sacrifice her own happiness and her family's happiness for a stranger, but kind of just for her idea of what humanity is, you know.
Yeah, which is a big payoff from like everything that happened throughout the show. Which, I mean, okay, we talked about Decim, but we didn't talk about her, the co-star. We got to talk about the Chiyuki, the woman in black, who for most of the entire show we don't learn her name up until the last few episodes. Because when she originally came to the Quindecim, she came alone, and she had like no memory of anything. She was an anomaly.
Well, she knew she was dead.
She knew she was dead, which was weird. Like, that normally doesn't happen. She was an anomaly. So they had to go about her game in a different way. Which ultimately, like, it does happen, but Decim has to take it a step further because of she knows more because of her extended time there.
Yeah.
So that's
definitely.
So that's when that that penultimate test happened, and her judgment is passed, and she moves on to whatever destination Decim chose for her. I'm not gonna spoil those decisions for those who haven't seen the show, because it has to be experienced. Like, if there's any kind of show that I would recommend that I really can't spoil too much, that needs to be experienced rather than explained, I wholly believe it's Death Parade. But at the same point, like, I do want to talk about it more because, like, in this age with like anime, we're talking about all these different like big epic series shows and everything like that. Like, oftentimes, like, some shows like Death Parade often get tossed aside a little bit when like the next big thing comes along, which is especially true for like short run anime with like a series run of like 12 or 13 episodes.
Yeah, well, this is special because it's just short and simple, and they know what they're doing. Really, there isn't a huge plot, and it just sort of, that's it. It's just 13 episodes. It's very simple.
Right.
You have the beginning and you have the end, and it doesn't take a long time. It can be kind of refreshing.
Yeah, which is why, for me, sometimes I love anime series that have a shorter run period. Like,
right.
I mean, of course, you have like the big the big epic serials like Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, and everything like that. And the Naruto franchise has been like being further expanded with the Boruto series. But sometimes, like, I feel like sometimes I can get a little more enjoyment out of like the shorter series runs of like 13 to like 25 episodes. Things like that. And like, I started experiencing that like when I was in college, not when I was in college, but back when I was in high school, and I watched some other similar shows to that. and it remains it to this day. And Death Parade is like, I think, one of the best examples of taking a short run, series run of like 12, 13 episodes and getting the most out of it.
Right. Yes.
Because like I said, and just like you said, Hannah, like the visceral feelings in this show, like they can break you down, but like the critical thinking that you can do with this show, especially when you talk with people that have also seen the show, those conversations are fascinating. Like I remember showing this show to my friends, and they were like, "Oh my god, why would you show this to me?" And I'm like, it's a good show, and I want to talk about this with people. I don't have anyone to talk about. But,
yeah.
Like, and it's so much so that every single time I'm hanging out with them, whenever I have control of the aux cord in the car, I play the ending theme to the show, and they're like, "Donald, why?"
Yep. Oh man.
Speaking of music for the show,
yeah,
the soundtrack is really good.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
We'll talk about the opening and ending in a second, but the main soundtrack for like most of the show is mainly very atmospheric. Like it sticks to its environments well. Like the main gothic architecture of the Quindecim definitely is exemplified in the music.
Yeah.
And even in the other limbo bar that were shown as well for a brief period of time, like the music translates well into that one as well. We get a separate scenario where it's not Decim doing the judgment, but it's another bar doing a similar thing. But it's a different arbiter.
Because you get a different experience depending on which arbiter you go to.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad they took that route.
Yeah. I can't imagine if he was the only one. That would be a rough job. I mean, it is already a rough job.
It is a rough job. But they've alluded before that he's not the only one. But normally when series say that they're not the only one, they don't take a moment to like give some screen time to like acknowledge other the other aspects. So I'm glad they took an episode or two in order to focus on one of the other ones as well.
Yeah.
And like despite the rivalry between like this self-imposed rivalry between that bartender and Decim, I'm like that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the experience of like what each like of the afterlife thing.
Right, yeah.
And it's awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see like that dueling ways of like being an arbiter. So they had different approaches to how they dealt with people. Yeah, because the other arbiter, I think he's hold on, I have the character list. I think it was Ginty. His name
Ginty.
was.
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Yep, it was Ginty. He's a little more ruthless than Decim.
Right.
So yeah, he that judgment he did, like the long-term judgment he did with the one girl. Oof.
Oh gosh, yeah. I forgot about those two who were playing Twister. That was
the most metal game of Twister of all time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Like, when it got a lot more difficult, and when you put your hand on a certain color, it would get burning hot or freezing cold, or like the bottom of the bottom of the mat would drop out and you'd just be left on these little pillars.
And there's supposedly like spikes at the bottom that you'll get impaled on, like Indiana Jones style. I'm like, okay.
Holy crap!
This escalated quickly.
Well, that escalated quickly.
And in the back of my head, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, this is exactly how Twister would probably go if they ever did a third reboot of American Gladiators on TV.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's what I felt in that moment.
Maybe you just fall into a thing, because if people actually actually die, that would be a legal issue.
That is true. That is very, very true. But
yeah.
But yeah, with the soundtrack and all that. Okay, Hannah, I have to ask you this.
Yes.
Did the opening for the show throw you off when you originally watched it?
Absolutely. It threw me off completely. I was watching it and I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then the couple started throwing darts, and the darts would impale people's organs depending on where they went. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not the rockin' good time I had expected it to be.
Yeah, that opening is so deceiving for the show, but at the same time, it's so unbelievably epic.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
It's one of my favorite anime openings of all time, and I actually remember my little brother back when he used to run a blog writing series about anime, and he did a top 50 list of his favorite anime openings.
Yeah.
I think he put that song in his top 10, if
Nice.
I remember correctly. But that's like a side. But that just, oh my god, so good.
Yeah.
And even better, like what me and him both noticed, like later on, like in one of the penultimate episodes, like there was a couple of scenes in that episode that sneak its way into the opening, like since the beginning.
Right. Oh. Wait, like what?
When they're sitting at the bar drinking, and the final shot where she has the puppet wires all around them as they're going into the elevator.
Oh, right. Yes.
Those scenes were in the opening, and me and my little brother, when we were watching it for the first time, were like, wait a minute. Wait a sec. What? Almost like they were alluding to it, like, since the beginning.
Yeah. I love it when shows do stuff like that, when it's sort of like...
Yeah, when shows do...
It reassures you that they knew what... They didn't just... right by the seat of their asses,
Right. Well, I mean, for some shows that exist out there right now, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that has source material from all the way back in the 80s, and they do things with the openings that allude to future events, like that makes sense, because there's already like a long-lasting pre-existing source material to like allude to that.
Yeah.
Where you can put in those like small little finer details that for a casual fan may be hard to miss, but for someone who knows the original source material, they're like, "Oh my god, that's incredible!" But
yeah,
for Death Parade to put that like small little tidbit in there, I got an enjoyment out of that when I figured that out. I'm like, okay, so they had a little bit of an idea about what they were doing with this going in.
Yeah.
And I like that. I really like that.
Oh. Yeah.
So, out of all of the games that we were presented in the show, which one terrified you the most?
Let me think. What did they do? They did darts.
Yep, they did
air hockey, bowl.
Yep, the
Twister.
Bowling Twister. The video games.
Video game.
And I wouldn't exactly count the game of Old Maid though.
No, I wouldn't count that one either.
Because that was more of like just a game as opposed to a death game.
Right. Yeah. Let me think here. I'm trying to remember.
So while you think on that, I'll do a little detail on this. So in the show, for those that haven't watched it, again, please go. The games that they play in order to pass down the judgment, if you've been listening to the conversation so far, they're not normal games. Like, the basic rules are pretty much the same, but there's something that's altering them as well. For the dart game that they played, every single part of the dart board is attached to one of their organs or nervous systems and things like that. And depending on whether you get hit a double zone or a triple zone, the pain intensifies. The people won't die because of course they won't die, but like the pain is like excruciating from what we can tell.
Yeah.
The game of bowling that's played, the bowling balls that they use has the other person's respective technical heart in them, so you can feel their heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Which I was like, okay. Then you had the video game where each of the respective players, the characters that they were playing as were basically taken out of their respective lives.
Yeah.
And then you had like the Death Pit game of Twister that we just mentioned, and then you had the air hockey game where basically the pucks inflicted pain upon the person that was scored against, and then the thing that happened afterwards with the pucks and a knife.
Yeah. That was 2 episodes actually.
Yeah, that was the only really
air
2-part
hockey one.
That was really the only 2-part death game, but oh my god.
That one was ridiculous. Yeah.
That was the game that broke me. That was the game that broke me. I'm just like, come on, don't do it. Just stop. Just come on. And then it all happened. I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Because for as much as we like to see like blood and guts and carnage and everything like that, and we like to see all these epic things, at the same time we have these moments of like empathy, and we're just like, just stop, just think, just please don't do it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking. I think probably the game that scares me the most or freaks me out the most would probably be oh gosh. I think it might have to be the first one, the darts.
Yeah, you can't really get a more visceral opening game than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, maybe except for Death Twister, but I mean that's a different thing entirely.
That was my second. Was Twister.
But I mean, going into it and like the fact that they're able to like do all this pain to your body and you don't know how they're able to do it, like that is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
To not know where it comes from, yeah. Because in the Twister, you can kind of tell. I touched this, and that it's really hot, but I can't take my hand off.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the darts. The darts is the most freaky to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was rough. So
yeah,
with all that taken into account, we talked about the characters, we talked about the soundtrack, the amazing openings, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we have not talked about, the actual art itself, the animation.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. It looks like not so much a movie sort of animation as much as it's just it looks what you would find in a graphic novel almost.
And honestly, like that's like a big thing, like when it comes to like anime that's produced by Studio Madhouse, like that a lot of people, a lot of people that I know say like the animation is quality, especially for like how diverse like of animation they sometimes get.
Yeah.
But man, like I am a person that loves his shading in dark places inside anime in order to give that atmospheric feel.
Yeah.
Oh. This show has all of that and more. Like
absolutely.
Like just the design of the Quindecim bar itself is a place I would love to visit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not mind
under the right circumstances.
Under the right circumstances, I would not mind having a drink there when I die.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I'm like Decim, pour me one of your famous martinis.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that was oof. So yeah, I mean, and again, like this show has left an impact on people. It hasn't left like a large impact like how some big names in anime do, but it has left an impact. There are a couple of bartender friends of mine that have actually recreated the drink that Geekery made for Chiyuki in Death Parade.
Oh, that's awesome.
I haven't tried it yet, but I remember reading the recipe and I'm like, that sounds so good. I want to try it.
I would love to try and make that.
If I'm able to, we'll figure it out. We'll do this.
All right, awesome.
General Geekery Kitchen, let's do this.
General Geekery Kitchen.
Ah!
Oh my gosh.
We make all of the food and drink from your favorite games and anime and TV shows and everything like that.
Yes.
We've got the blue martini from Death Parade here. Next time we will show you how to make the red potion in its respective pottery bottle from the Legend of Zelda series.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, that'll be awesome.
Yes.
Oh
man. So
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to say about this. I guess the a couple other things that I wrote. The thing where he says I respect for people who live fulfilled lives.
Yeah.
Which I find kind of cool because it was a really neutral statement.
Which further,
but it showed that he had guidelines that he followed, and that he wasn't indifferent per se,
right?
But he sort of knew where the lines were.
Yeah, he knows like what lines not to cross because of his role as an arbiter. But you can also tell like he also second guesses his judgments as we see in the follow-up episode to the first game. Which at the
where he thinks that she where he thinks that the woman didn't have the husband's best interests at heart or something. I don't remember. Like she told him something that
basically made him double guess himself about whether or not his judgment was correct.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the sentence was already passed. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, you can't go back on it. Definitely.
Exactly. So it happened, but
yeah.
But he also dwells on it. Like he's neutral, but he's a neutral character, but that doesn't mean that he's one-dimensional or bland and everything like that. Like
or indifferent, yeah.
He feels the complications arise. Like he starts to like think on dwell on the facts more and double guess themselves, especially because of the time he spends with Chiyuki, the woman in black.
Mm-hmm.
So like ultimately it's a show about like life and death, like the everything about the afterlife, but at the same time it's just watching the arbiter himself, like Geekery, grow and like start to gain these extra perspectives.
Yeah. Where what's her name? Nona. She said, I don't believe that it's best for there to be more than I believe that it's best for there to be more than just one way to judge. Like people are too complicated to fit into a formula.
Right.
I guess.
Right, absolutely. And honestly, that's like a thing that she always that's something she always discussed with like the main boss of like everything, who is basically he's kind of established as like this like god type being.
Yeah.
But we really don't get like that much information on like the characters in the afterlife. Like were they once human? Were they just created from some other primordial being? Like we don't know.
Yeah, we don't really know.
We don't really get much information about the world itself. Which normally, like, I like my details and everything like that, but I think for this show, it plays into its advantage because the mystique of this limbo afterlife draws you in, and it helps kind of, like, establish, like, the nature of the death games themselves.
Right, yeah.
So I think not getting any information about the world itself, honestly, and leaving it up to like our own interpretations, I think works to the show's strength.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
So, with that being said,
Mm-hmm.
and when we take all those factors into account, I've already said, like, I highly recommend this show for anybody who loves, like, feeling sad, and, like, those visceral emotions and everything like that. But it's also a beautiful piece of animation, and I highly recommend it for a lot of people. Hannah.
Right, yeah. I recommend it, too, yeah. It's definitely not, like, something for someone who's never watched anime. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, this wouldn't really be like a good starting off point for a newer anime viewer. Like, this is for someone who's been watching anime for like maybe like 2-3 years in. Like, like they have their own preferences or everything like that, and when they want they want to experience something different from their usual norm, this would be like a nice series to show them. It's nice, short. You can talk about it without like losing too many of the details.
Yeah.
And you can get you can get something out of it.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day, I believe is probably the most important factor. If you gain something out of this show, whether it be a new thought on a concept, or just a new way of thinking or like interpreting how you watch shows.
Yeah.
Then I believe the show did its job.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, that's us on Death Parade. Currently right now, you guys can go see Death Parade, as we mentioned before, on Hulu, where they have it in sub format. If not, I believe you can also find it on Funimation's streaming service, where they also have the English dub version for it as well. And you can also buy the DVD and Blu-ray wherever DVD and Blu-rays are sold for anime. So definitely go check it out. Go check out Death Parade. It's awesome. So,
oh my gosh, yes. I wasn't expecting to react the way that I did to this show. Like the very where Geekery had his little, I don't want to say breakdown.
Oh, the breakdown.
But
the
breakdown where he suddenly just had all of these feelings about all the people that he judges all the time, and how they're all connected, and
it all came
humanity.
Yeah, and all came welling up in that moment, and the epilogue really helped that for him. So, yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah.
Man, I need to watch this show.
I love to see those sort of moments when a person changes or reaches the edge of their limits. That's kind of any good story does. And I think it accomplished that for both him and Chiyu.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. 100% agree. All right. So, we have anything more to say about this amazing show?
I do not. That's it right now.
All right. Then I think we are good here. Thank you guys for listening in for this edition of Anime April for the General Geekery Podcast. This has been episode 23.
Holy crap, I can't believe that.
That we're 23 episodes in now? Yeah, I know.
I know.
I
thought for sure we'd have run out of stuff to talk about.
Oh no! When it comes to geeking out about things, we never have stuff to run out to talk about. So, as always, you guys can find us wherever podcasts can be found: Spreaker.com, Spotify, everything like that. If you're already listening to us right now, then you're already listening to us and you found us. Hooray!
Well done.
In terms of social media, you guys can check us out on Instagram at General Geekery. As well as on Facebook and Twitter at Gen Geek Podcast. Hannah, where can they check you out at?
Well, every Monday at 7:30, I and my party roll some dice and kill some creatures and explore the world of Avenaria. You can go and watch that on twitch.tv/loadeddiceadventures. That's on Mondays. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Pythian.
At Pythian Legume.
Pythian Legume. You can also check out my other pod I do with she and I talk about nerdy things and how they've changed through the generations, or just the fact we have all these similar interests and how it was different in her day. That podcast is called Splankniks. You can lots of different places. I think you can find it on Stitcher, Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Yeah, go and check that out. It's me.
Yep. Well, I'll have links to the Spotify page in the description, so no worries on that.
Awesome. Yeah, I won't spell how the name of the podcast then.
Don't worry. I already have the format. Like just copy and paste it down. Like I have the entire thing written out, so we're good. We're good on that. And you guys can check me out at RyuzakiMK7 on Twitter, Instagram, as well as on Twitch.tv, where I am currently streaming a lot of games right now since I have a lot more free time on my hands and I'm doing a lot more stuff at the moment.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. I've been doing so many online things like this. It's crazy. My Loaded Dice, we're doing it over just and we're all doing it. We call it floating head, just oh man, so much stuff being done from a distance, as it should be.
Indeed. All right, I think that should wrap it up right then there.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, yeah.
So, again, guys, thank you so much. This has been episode 23 of the General Geekery podcast. For Hannah Kubiak, I'm Donald Kaczynski, and always remember to keep your drinks full, live your life to the fullest, and as always, keep your geek on.
Always.
Clink. Social distancing. Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.
Wait, hold on.
Bye, guys.
Hold on. There we go. I did the clink.
I did one too. It's just gonna. Bye, everybody.
Later.